of fog, highs in the lower 50s. Currently 40 degrees. It is cloudy in Newark. 41 Central Park, 38 White Plains. The time is 12:08. I'm Andrew Meyer with Eulis Cathey and his special guest Alvin Queen on Jazz 88. Music your way, straight ahead.
Yes, indeed. There's blues everywhere from the recording I Ain't Looking at You from drummer Alvin Queen with trumpeter Terrell Stafford, Jesse Davis on the alto, Mike Ladon on Hammond B3, and Peter Bernstein on guitar. And we just so happen to have Mr. Queen in the studio, an old friend. It's been a long time, man.
Yeah, Eulis, it's a pleasure to be here. I haven't seen you in, 22 years?
Yeah, 22 years. It's been quite some time, but you've been keeping busy. You've been keeping busy. Now, born, of course, in this area in the Bronx and raised in Mount Vernon, but a resident of Switzerland, Geneva. You've been in Switzerland, nearly 30 years now?
28
right?
years.
Yeah, yeah.
28.
How's it treating you?
Wonderful, man. Can't be any better,
Well, you're in town at a gig, to have a gig, I should say, at the Jazz Standard, Tuesday, beginning tonight through Thursday. And tell us about the band.
Well, the band, I just finished a 3-week tour of Europe with the band. And I really had this tour put together by NJ Records. And we were doing the tunes from the album, and we were also working on some original new material where after we finish at the Jazz Standard, we will go into the studio.
Okay, and you've got with you?
At the Jazz Standard, I will have with me Joe Magnarelli on trumpet, flugelhorn, Jesse Davis on alto saxophone. I will have Peter Bernstein on guitar, and I have Mike Ladon on Hammond organ, and as special guests, and the great conga player, Mr. Niels Clark.
All right. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that sounds good. That sounds great. Now, you spent 3 years most recently with Oscar Peterson. And that had to be, considering everything that you've done in your career and all the people you've played with, that had to be a pretty special treat.
Well, there's something very, most people always see the top of things, but I was able to see, the heart of Oscar because I was very close to him. I learned a lot, and it made me more humble to see, I used to say, you're a legend, and Oscar used to say, man, Queen, I'm a piano player. And Oscar really helped me a lot getting myself together. He got me into photography, and we used to go to Japan, and we used to play with our cameras for many, many hours, 4 or 5 hours a day. So there was a lot there. It was like the top of the cake, which made me really relax and put me into a slot which I've always wanted to be in after some 40, 50 years.
Yes. Now, let's go back. And, this might be, reviewing some old territory that you've talked about. But let's talk about how you got into this music. I mean, what initially made you, first of all, decide that drums was what you wanted to play, that instrument was something that you wanted to focus on?
Well, my brother used to be working, he used to be in the Mount Vernon Grime School band, and I used to just get his sticks all the time, go beat on the sidewalk, things like that. And I said, once I get old enough, I want to do exactly what my brother did. So I met a guy there who, Andy Lalina, who had a drum studio on 4th Avenue in Mount Vernon, and I went up there. I was a shoeshine kid at the time, and I knew most of the music because my father used to go down to have his hair done at Sugar Ray Robinson's barbershop in Harlem, and he would say, Alvin, he says, we're going to catch a show at the Apollo Theater. So this is when I had the chance, 8 years old, to see Nancy Wilson with Cannonball Adderley and Gloria Lynn and Pygmy Markham and Red Fox, and I mean, they had shows, they had month shows there, and Drums of Passion Alatunji. So I knew most of the people, and I knew my father's record collection. So what I would do is, at that time, Mount Vernon is a small city with 4 square miles. It had 4 or 5 jazz clubs in it, So I began to get in touch, and this guy, Andy Lalino, to make a story short, took me down to Birdland, Gretsch Drum Night, and they set me up on the stage. I was like 10, 11 years old, child prodigy, and I was sitting there with Elvin, Art, Max, and everybody. And I turned out to be that boy, that child prodigy, which made me very successful. At this time, during Gretsch Drum Night, that was over. I came back, and Elvin set me in with John Coltrane up on the stage to play. And George Braith was there at the time. And George Braith was the original one to discover me, because he put me in his band at the time, and he put me in his band with Big John Patton and Grant Green. And we were traveling around to Perth Amboys and places like that. And then I had the experience of working at the Blue Cornet with George Braith, and Larry Young played piano, and Ernie Farrell played the bass. Mm-hmm. So that's what it came about. And then it expanded to George Benson and Jimmy Boyd and Stanley Turrentine. And it was more of a friendship. I didn't know who was calling, but I knew I was able to handle the music.
Right. Bottom line.
Yes.
Bottom line.
So that's how I really got into it, and it just went on. I was with Horace Silver. I spent 5 years there. I spent a year with George Benson. Our first introduction to Europe was Charles Tolliver, with the Impact album, which was very successful, and it's working for me now in Europe.
Music Incorporated.
Right, yeah. Right. And, there's different things now which is coming out of the wall. I don't believe what's really going on,
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, let's hear something else from the new recording. Again, we have Alvin Queen in studio. He's at the Jazz Standard, and he's here tonight through Thursday, so you should certainly make it on down. Let's hear the title track, why don't we?
Yeah.
From the new recording. I Ain't Looking at You. Alvin Queen here on Jazz 88.
you, man. Man, I told you I ain't looking at you.
I Ain't Looking at You, the title track from the new Alvin Queen recording, and it's on the NJ record label. Now, there's a story behind the choosing of that as a title, right?
Oh, yeah.
How'd that come about in the studio?
Nothing really. There's details to it, but it's always Jesse Davis wrote that, and Jesse brought it to the table on the spot, and there was just a misunderstanding. So the misunderstanding in the studio, I was busy writing down the title tunes and all the music. So by that time, I turned around and Jesse had said, well, man, why are you looking at me? I ain't looking at you. So I said, well, what's the name? So he says, well, then he went back again and said, I ain't looking at you. So I just said, well, I'm writing it down. And I wrote it down. And, even the spelling is kind of out there, but it has been very successful and it's unbelievable.
Well, it's a hook.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It's something people remember. Okay. It's a great marketing tool. Now, we've mentioned before, I mentioned earlier that you've been living in Geneva and you said 28 years now.
Yeah.
You first took a trip there with Tolliver, right? Mm-hmm. What made you decide to stay?
Well, I had worked with the first thing I had worked with Horace Silver when Tolliver spotted me, and we were working at the Club Baron in Harlem, and opposite Billy Paul. Billy Paul was the open act at that time, and Tolliver spotted me, and then Horace has a vacation he takes every year. So he took a vacation. I went with George Benson. And I got the call from Tolliver. And he wanted me to go to Europe. And I said, man, I don't know nothing about Europe. I don't know what that's all about. And I went over there. And it's amazing because you would go for 2 weeks and you couldn't get back. You would be over there for a month. And then that month would turn into 2 months. And then if he said we're going over for 2 months, I'd be over there for 4 months. And I got to a point where I built a reputation. I was working and doing a lot over there because they had radio bands, they had clubs. Many things were happening. And at that time, they needed drummers because, for the Europeans, they were into something different. So a drummer out of New York would really clean up over there.
Right.
So then I decided, I was having small problems here in New York and couldn't get things off the ground the way I wanted. So I said, well, the best thing to do is just go on to Europe. I can't do no worse than I was doing here. So I went on to Europe, and I started a whole new life. Mm-hmm. And I met this girl who really stuck by me, and then I got married in 1979, and then I started getting the real city assistance, the insurance. I started meeting bankers. I started to, the diplomatic people from the embassies and stuff. And then afterwards, everything started falling in line. Mm-hmm. That's how Nilva Records started.
Now, that's a nice segue.
Yeah.
Because you started your own record label.
Yeah.
Nilva Records put out a number of different records, not only your own, but records from a number of other artists over the years. And so tell us about the formation of it, like you began to, and what's the status of things right now?
Well, what had happened, Eulis, I saw Tolliver. I was more like a young kid. I was only 20, 21 years old. And I saw Tolliver, I saw how Strata East started, and I said to myself, I went to Europe. In 2 years, I made so much money in 2 years, I didn't make that here in America. So I said, what could I do? Oh, I can put out my first record, which was Alvin Queen in Europe. And then after I did the first record, it did pretty good. But a friend of mine said, nothing, you can have an ice cream company. You got to have all kinds of flavors. You can't live off of one. So then I did the Ashanti album, which the Ashanti album really sold. Then something came in my head. At that time, Blue Note wasn't functioning that well. So I had met all these people through George Braith and, Grant Green, and I met all the people. They were not recorded at that time. And I said, I'm going back and record everybody who have not been recorded. And that's how Nilva started. Mm-hmm. On Nilva Records, I had 17 titles.
Right.
So now I have a release coming out June 24th, The Jammin' Uptown, with Terrence Blanchard, Manny Boyd, Robin Eubanks, John Hicks, and Ray Drummond. That will be released then. And I also have the Big John Patton, Soul Connection.
Now those are going to be Nilva records.
No, those just in time.
Now so is the Nilva situation in abeyance right now? I mean, is it something that you may restart in the future?
No, because the problem, what I had then is the distribution.
Right.
And when you have a distribution, you definitely need something behind that.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a good record, and if the record's great, it could never get the right play. So I felt that I better go into a system which can handle it, such as Just in Time or Dyco or Warner Brothers. Then the records will have the exposure that it should have.
All right. Okay. Yes. Distribution certainly is key. Well, it is 12:34. We are talking with Alvin Queen in town at the Jazz Standard tonight through Thursday. Make it on down to check him out. Something else from the new recording. You mentioned your tenure with Horace Silver, right?
Oh, that was my favorite. That was my first introduction as the big job.
Yeah.
I replaced Billy Cobham in the group, 1969, and it's a tune I always feature in this group, entitled Nutville.
That's right, on Jazz 88. On Jazz 88, music from Alvin Queen. His new recording is called I Ain't Looking At You. And that was Horace Silver's Nutville, something that Alvin said he likes to spotlight a set with. And speaking of sets, 2 sets tonight, Wednesday and Thursday at the Jazz Standard. You can hear Alvin Queen. 7:30 and 9:30 are the show times. And Alvin, what can people expect from these gigs?
Well, you can expect definitely the music from this album. We do that, but you will hear some new music I have prepared because we are going in the recording studio after this engagement. And the selections, which there's some original tunes by Jesse, there's some tunes by Pete Bernstein, there's tunes by Mike LaDon we'll run through. And there's 2 tunes by Oscar Peterson. I did also with Oscar, the Sushi tune and Backyard Blues, and the Horace Silver tune, Cape Verdean Blues. Right. And on the record, I will have Terrell Stafford on trumpet, flugelhorn. Steve Nelson is on vibraphones. Jesse Davis, as I mentioned, Pete Bernstein, Mike LaDon, Niels Clark, and probably Bob Crenshaw I was trying to get for a couple of tracks because we have a arrangement there. I've been listening to Joe Pass a lot, with the gospel thing, and there's a very hip tune I like on A Mighty Long Way, and we have our instrument version of that. And I'm really trying to combine everything, to bring everything out and put it on the table. So I will be playing some of that music, and you will hear some drum dialogues with Niels Clark. I mean, we're going put it on fire. Right. So it'll bring you back to many days of Art Blakey, Alatunji, and the whole thing. I believe in. I can't take it any further than where it have been, and I believe in entertaining the people who are paying their money to come to see the show. Right. And I just want the chairs and tables and everything to start moving in the joint. That's my goal,
Well, you heard it. You heard it from Alvin himself. Get ready for a good time making it down to the jazz standard. Now, you mentioned going into the studio after this. How soon?
Well, I have two days to record. I have March 25th, March 26th. I do a mix down on the 27th.
Yeah, see, that's a good. The thing about, and this is something that happens consistently, and I've always thought it was a good thing to do when you have a gig and you're able to perform with a band on a consistent basis, and you want to make a record. It's always good to go in right away because you really are on top of things. You've got a relationship musically that's really working, and it's like a continuation. You just keep rolling.
Well, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real. We don't, there's the roadmap. We've checked it out.
Right.
Now we just have to create off of the roadmap. So that's what I'm doing.
Alvin Queen is in the studio with us here on Jazz 88. This is Midday Jazz. Eulis Cathey with you in for Rhonda Hamilton. And, let's continue with something else from the new recording, a track called Mellow Soul on Jazz 88. The new recording from Alvin Queen is called I Ain't Looking at You. That was a track called Mellow Soul. And Alvin is in the company of Terrell Stafford, the fine trumpeter, Jesse Davis on alto, Mike LaDon on Hammond B3, and Peter Bernstein on guitar. And, well, I remember when this recording came in, and, I started laughing. I said, my man Alvin Queen, I said, it's good to see a recording because it had been a while, and it's good, I think, for everyone who follows the music to see music made by you that they can acquire. And so it's good to have this recording out there for people to get.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really.
Now, you've been talking about upcoming projects, the things that you're working on. It seems like you're going to be doing a lot more recording on a pretty consistent basis. What kind of ideas are you coming up with? What kind of things do you want to do?
Well, I have an idea of what's going on. It's just that you have, I will have the organ quintet, and also I will have a acoustical group probably. I will do CD, probably with Jesse or Mulgrew on, acoustical band, something like that. And what happens, you can work different festivals,
right?
Whatever. They have their choice of what they want to book, how they want to book it. I also have some different new thoughts in my mind. I'm thinking I have to put a production together. I've been trying on Melvin Sparks because it's just I'm trying to dig back in the basket at those out there who I know can give me what I really need, and that's my goal to keep what I know alive, right, as much as I can.
Right.
You see? So there's many projects I produce. Sometimes I'm touring all through Africa, South America, Asia, and it's just that when I sit there in Switzerland, I just lay the whole project out, and then I pick up the telephone and I start working on it. So that's what I've been really doing.
Now, in that part of the world, we've mentioned a couple of times here today that you've been living in Switzerland. What is the jazz scene in that part of the world? When people want to focus on hearing some music, where do they go?
Well, either, there's different festivals all year long.
Of course.
So you have to do that.
Right.
Or you have to go to certain clubs. Maybe you drive an hour, 2 hours for something really happening because people, they're desperate for music. So it's just that they look it up, and if they can recognize the name, they will be there. So I mean, it's there is a problem. There's a problem there. It's not what it used to be. I remember Johnny Griffin. We used to we were working all the time, but that thing it's not happening like that anymore. You see, so I've decided to sit down and do many things myself with the connections which I've had through the years. There's people there, they want music, so all I do is make the effort, and they say we'll lock it in.
Alvin Queen is our guest in studio here today, folks. He is at the Jazz Standard tonight through Thursday. Showtimes are 7:30 and 9:30 p.m. Make sure you make it on down to check him out during this stay. It's been a while since you've gigged in New York, right?
Oh, yeah, I was at the Jazz Center some time ago, but I was there with Benny Wallace in the Coleman Hawkins project.
Right.
I was there, and I worked a lot with Benny Wallace through the years out in Los Angeles, California. Then I gotten into some filming business with him, doing stuff for Jeff Goldblum and Laura Dern.
Oh, okay. Doing some film work then.
Yeah.
Great.
So I did that for a while, but I wasn't happy with that, so I said I'll go back east again.
Right.
So,
right. Well, look, let's hear something else from the new recording. Something that people might be a little familiar with. 7 Steps to Heaven. From I Ain't Looking at You, Alvin Queen on Jazz 88. 7 funky, lively steps to heaven. That's Alvin Queen and company, the new recording, I Ain't Looking at You. And once again, Alvin is at the Jazz Standard tonight through Thursday, 7:30, 9:30 p.m. The show times. And you should make it a point to get down to check Alvin and his group out. One of these 3 nights, it promises to be a very, very entertaining engagement. And here's hoping that it's just one of several in the near future that you will be having in the New York area, Alvin.
Oh, definitely. This is just the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to thank you for coming by. It's been a pleasure for me to see you. It's been a long time since we've seen each other.
It's a pleasure to be here once again in New York, man. I'm going to enjoy myself.
I know that's right. Well, the best of luck to you on the engagement here for the next 3 days, and of course, all the best of you in the future with all of your future endeavors. Looks like you're going to be quite busy here for quite a while.
Thanks once again, Eulis, for having me here.
Well, look, we're gonna wrap things up with one last tune from the recording, and a tune written by organist Mike Ladon.
Yeah.
Shirley's Song. Thanks again, Alvin.
Thank you.
On Jazz 88.